Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about Kenneth Chesbro going for broke. So he's filed a motion in state court to dismiss his whole case for reasons of immunity. Okay, so first, remember who Chesbro has been so far. On the facts, he's the guy who really does seem to have been the architect of the whole plan that would have Pence basically say, I don't know what to do, alternative electors, bring it back to the states. You know, everything that Eastman was pushing for and the like comes from Chesbro. He's the brains behind the job, even though and this will matter to him, he's saying, he was working on other things in Wisconsin and the like. He was just sending along some memos to Eastman, some memos like, with a blueprint of breaking the law. But so he moves for a speedy trial. He wants to be all on his own. And now here comes his second gambit. He's filed in state court a motion to dismiss everything based on immunity. So first, this interesting point. Any federal defense you can assert it in state court. There's, state courts are duty bound to apply and enforce the federal Constitution. And if the federal Constitution says you can't be subject to state, criminal action, then a state court should say it as well. Now, typically, and we've seen this already with Mark Meadows trying to remove his case as a clear precursor to an immunity motion. Regular litigators who would do this sort of immunity motion, they're federal court litigators. They'd prefer to be in federal court. But we do know, and Chesbro maybe made this determination, the state court judge, Judge McAfee, who's overseeing Fulton County, first, he's very young. Only been on, I'm like 34, only been on the bench for a little bit. He is a, appointee of the Republican governor, Kemp. He was a good Federalist in law school, so closer to a conservative Republican, whereas the judge who has the removal motions in federal courts, who, is having the motions from others like Mark Meadows saying, take my case, please, is an Obama, I think he is an Obama appointee, Judge Jones. He's an Obama appointee, and possibly Chesbro makes the qualitative judgment. I'd rather take my chances with the state court judge. Okay, so that's point one. Point two is what he's arguing. And I'm just being objective here. I think Chesbro, remember, was a research assistant to Larry Tribe, and he went to Harvard. And you got to imagine he's got legal chops and some sophistication, but he's filed a removal, an immunity motion that is like gibberish, I think. Here's the basic argument. I really want to give him his full due, as the judge hopefully will, but he's basically, first he's relying on, as Trump is fond of invoking, the Electoral Count Act, a statute that kind of tells Congress how to sort of go through things when there's disputes in elections, but that really has nothing to do with these criminal charges. But what he's saying is, okay, the Electoral Act refers to contingent electors. And that would be a situation when it really is not clear who is the rightful winner of a state, and you have electors on both sides. Maybe this could have happened here if a court had recognized it, as opposed to just, these bullies pressing their way and appointing themselves phony electors for Trump, in other words, lying about it. But he says when that happens, that's the Electoral Count Act says what to do. And it really, after the States Act, everything falls to Congress under the Electoral Count Act to figure this out. Therefore, this is all federal law. Therefore, federal law determines, and therefore, I have immunity, not even because of who he is, because of course he's not a federal official. He's just a guy who was, acting as a lawyer. So I mean, his argument, if it were accepted, would apply to anyone and everyone. What he's saying is federal law will sort of determine the right process for dealing with contingent electors. So small problem, big problem. Small problem is just that federal law might control doesn't mean a state can't be deciding it. Big problem is that has nothing to do with the state criminal charges that have been levied against Chesbro. Let's assume it's true in some way. Biggest problem. There are no contingent electors here. What there are phony baloney electors because of Chesbro and others conspiring to just let you call yourselves electors and we'll pretend you're electors. And then you can try to get Pence to pretend you're electors too. And then Pence will say, oops, we got two sets of electors. And so we've got to bring this back to the states and the legislatures. And that's what Trump wants, because then it becomes all political. But these guys aren't electors. It's a joke. They just appointed themselves this way. So there's no contingent electors to make a determination about. Moreover, it's a flat non sequitur to say, even if they had to sort of figure it out and unscramble the eggs and think about the Electoral Count Act, that they can't commit a crime. The RICO crime they've been accused of doing is a crime under state law. You can do that easily, and a part of it, including overt acts, can be making certain assertions or arguments about federal law, but it 100% doesn't follow, even if it were the case, and it's not, that they were real electors, and they're not, and the Electoral Count Act applied, and it doesn't. It still wouldn't make this somehow a matter for federal supremacy clause immunity so that he couldn't be tried. So I'm actually surprised. I expected, there's some good papers here and some bad papers. We've had some really crappy lawyering by Trump in particular, some good lawyering, say, by Meadows' lawyers. This you would have expected from a guy of Chesbro's pedigree with some sophistication to be sort of cogent or coherent or the best argument out there. Instead, I think it's like total nonsense, and Judge McAfee will make quick work of it. So Chesbro files an immunity motion. He does it in state court, which is interesting, but he does it in a terribly flawed way that I think doesn't begin to help him. So he is back where he was before, I'm confident, and that will be the guy who has asked for a speedy trial and has the unwelcome company of Sidney Powell with John Eastman coming, and will be trying to face the state charges that the federal Constitution gives him no shield from. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.